All right, it's talk time now. Nigerians in the diaspora, in one way or other, contribute to so much to the growth of the Nigerian economy, most especially through funds repatriated home.
The federal government is now working to implement a diaspora policy that would allow them get involved in governance back home. That policy thrust would perhaps give them an opportunity to vote during elections from countries where they live. Let's take this report.
The diaspora of any nation is a formidable asset and plays a key role in its socio-economic and technological development. This, the federal government says, is the reason it is working to put together a policy for Nigerians in diaspora. The policy aims at establishing a workable and mutually beneficial relationship where Nigerians outside the country can contribute as well as benefit from the country's development.
Nowhere you don't find Nigerians excelling everywhere in the world. Although we have the downside, but we have more of the good side than the downside. So the idea is this: how can we have such a group of people who last year alone remitted $21 billion to this country, who are developing world economies, and not engage them to develop their own country?
As part of our legislative agenda for the 8th Senate, we noted that the diaspora community and the NGO community are two communities that we must engage with, we must interface with, and we must mainstream into national development.
Delegates at the validation exercise
everywhere in the world. Although we have the downside, but we have more of the good side than the downside. So the idea is this: how can we have such a group of people who last year alone remitted $21 billion to this country, who are developing world economies, and not engage them to develop their own country?
As part of our legislative agenda for the 8th Senate, we noted that the diaspora community and the NGO community are two communities that we must engage with, we must interface with, and we must mainstream into national development.
Delegates at the validation exercise of the proposed policy on diaspora matters highlight the need for diaspora involvement in nation building. They say Nigerians abroad can help shape the country economically and charge the government to leverage on its strong diaspora presence.
Indeed, the federal government is not to see Nigerians in the diaspora in each and every country abroad as a basket case of consular boarding in need of government support, but as essential and critical tools for national development.
Discussants tasked the government to speed up the process of the diaspora policy, and one change they look forward to is being able to vote in Nigeria's elections. Olive Nwoke Onokwai, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, that's the background to our next discussion right now. We have a Nigerian resident in Dublin joining us right now from Dublin, Jacob Johnson on Skype. Jacob, good morning. It's good to have you join us right now, and Happy New Year, let me say.
Happy New Year to you. Good morning.
All right, now let's start it this way. You are in Dublin, in Ireland. Now,
yes,
we know that when it comes to diaspora people, those who are Irish, the people outside can vote for offices back home. But you as a Nigerian,
yes,
that policy is not available, it's not on ground right now. So you can't vote except you come back to the country. What has been your reaction to this when you think about that?
When we go to the embassy here in Ireland and we want to do things, a lot of information will be collected from us. It's almost as if we live in Nigeria and we follow the events in Nigeria, we follow what people do, we follow what the government is doing, and it will be a good recognition of the little contributions we are making. I mean, talking to our colleagues in the universities everywhere, giving them ideas and trying to see how things can move forward. We will be anxious as well to make a lot of contribution to Nigeria if permitted to do so. And being disenfranchised, it's a bit annoying, because if you go to our embassies or high commissions, sometimes it's like Nigeria want to take from you all the time. Most of us are outside here for employment reasons. In order to to be able to help back at home. If some of the people who are abroad can actually sit at home and get a good job, I am sure most of them wouldn't be abroad. There is a lot of brain drains. We should be able to use that, to tap into that knowledge. And by encouraging people, by giving them the franchise to be able to come back and vote, will actually encourage them. I mean, if we take the USA, which is one of the prominent countries that allow their citizens, regardless of where they are based in the world, to participate in their election. I mean, they are even levying taxes on them. If we know we can actually contribute to the country, if we are given the power to actually join in making the decisions, in choosing governments and choosing legislators, we will be encouraged to actually do more. I mean, here, not too long ago, about 3 months ago, I met a Nigerian. He's actually of a Lebanese origin. We are in the same type of work, and he was so passionate about Nigeria, but at the end of the day, he said, if I go to the embassy, the way they will look at me is, who is this? What does he want? You know, he's a Nigerian, he was born in Ibadan, even though he's of Lebanese origin. So we should be encouraging people like that. He's willing, especially he works in the health sector. He's actually willing to come and make contribution. But if people are not given the chance, it is very difficult. He's carrying a Nigerian passport. He actually has a Nigerian driver's license as well. So if he goes to the embassy, they should encourage him. If he can vote, people like that. It's a funny thing. We Nigerians, we are so patriotic, and we always want to touch base with home. We are not the type of people that leave Nigeria and just say, look, bye-bye. We don't know what is going on. We don't want to care. If a Lebanese origin person who is a Nigerian can be so passionate about Nigeria, what will those of us who are actually originally with parents from Nigeria and all that, how would we feel? We'll definitely be more passionate. So it will be a good thing if they can give us that chance to be able to vote. I can say for every election, last election, we were trying to organize things here in Dublin to support the electoral process, to educate people at home. But unfortunately, we can't vote. We can raise money, do things, and encourage people, try and educate those who are back at home that, look, this is what people are doing outside. This is what you should be looking for in our politicians. But they'll ask you, can you vote? We said, no, you guys are representing us. So please vote wisely.
All right. Jacob Johnson, will come back to you. Let's give out some information right now. As Nigeria inches towards the 2019 general elections, questions are still being asked by Nigerians living abroad on how long they will have to wait to realize their dreams of exercising their voting rights from their various locations during elections. Jacob just said that now.
Now he just, yeah, of course they're looking forward to that. Now, an estimated 15 million Nigerians currently live in the diaspora, but for decades they have remained disenfranchised during elections in the country. That's because the country's laws forbid those class of citizens from partaking in the electoral process.
According to the provision of Section 13, subsection 1, paragraph C of the 2006 Electoral Act is amended, and Section 77, subsection 2, and Section 117 and Section 2, subsection 2 rather, of the 1999 Constitution of the only citizens above 18 years physically present in Nigeria at the time of registration of voters can vote in any election. But the country's citizens in the diaspora have argued that the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights gives them the legal right to vote during elections.
All right, before we go ahead with all of this more information, let's bring in Uche Igwe with us, joining us from the UK. He's a research fellow with the University of Sussex in the UK, Dr. Uche Igwe. Now, Uche, good morning. It's good to have you join us. And let me say Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing great. Now, I know that you are one Nigerian who has returned home to monitor local government election, to monitor state government elections, to monitor several elections in Nigeria and other parts of Africa. And I know you were home in the last election and all of that. But let us look at Nigeria the way it is. You are very familiar with what we have. The laws as it is right now, going into 2019, do you think Nigeria can be ready for diaspora to vote in the 2019 election?
Yes, I think so. I think that diaspora voting is something whose time has come. But you know, beyond the fact that diaspora voting in 2019 is essential, now there are a whole lot of things about the diaspora Nigerians that we must not take lightly. I'm sure you're aware that in 2015, the Nigerians in diaspora alone made remittances up to $21 billion into the Nigerian economy. And in 2016, the statistics that was published indicated that Nigerians in diaspora also remitted $36 billion back into the Nigerian economy. Now, diaspora voting is something that will make the Nigerians in diaspora connect them more. And my argument is that as soon as Nigeria indicates willingness and deploys infrastructure to get the Nigerians in diaspora to vote and contemplate voting, that means that they will connect more with Nigeria and they'll be willing to remit more money. I can bet you that in 2017, if the right statements are made, the right plans are made, the Nigerian diaspora may be able to inject up to 50 billion in the Nigerian economy. Now, this money I'm talking about is something we need as a country because the country is currently in a recession. So the Nigerian diaspora voting is not only an important issue, it is an issue that will even assist us, you know, because of the current state of the economy. So for me, you know, I argue strongly that is, you know, if there are laws that need to be amended, you know, if there are plans that need to be made, I think it is something that needs to happen because it connects clearly, you know, into the economic issues, you know, beyond the political issues. Another thing I want to talk about is something, you know, that still happens, but happens in trickles, and that is diaspora philanthropy. You know, it is also fashionable. I mean, Mr. Johnson will agree with me that so many Nigerians in diaspora, you know, over Christmas, over Easter, over Salah, they gather themselves, they gather professionals, they do medical missions. You know, there are all kinds of philanthropy, you know, going on. But you know, as soon as you make policies that make diasporans feel at home, as soon as you make policies that Nigerians in diaspora connect strongly, you know, with the country, issues of diaspora philanthropy will be more prominent conversations. And I think that at this
we'll
time...
come back to you.
Know,
Uche, we'll come back to you shortly. Stay with us on there. Let's go on a break and we'll come back on the program. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
Glad to have you back. It is still TVC Breakfast, and we're looking at the recent proposal for voting to take place for Nigerians in the diaspora. Our guests, Jacob Johnson from Dublin and Uche Igwe from the UK. Back to you, Uche Igwe. Let's talk about the issue of dualization, dual citizenship, and the issue of naturalization. How will that work with the voting in the diaspora?
Well, I think that that will not be any problem. That you hold a Nigerian passport and you hold another passport does not make you less a Nigerian. And I am very sure that as a dual citizen, you will choose to be where you want to be. Now, what is it going to be? Ultimately, what we want is that as the developing country, we want our citizens back. We want our citizens to contribute. It is in our best interest that this will happen at this time. Like I tried to point out earlier, there are biting economic issues, and how to be creative in the solution to our economic problems. And my argument is that the Nigerians in diaspora are a huge resource we can no longer ignore. And if the figures are anything to go by, justify if there are 15 million Nigerians in diaspora, and if these 15 million people are capable of raking in $36 billion, for instance, in 2016, then we cannot begin to ignore them anymore. Another thing I would like to talk about beyond trying to be creative in amending the laws is the issue of peer pressure. You know, this is a .com world, and in a .com world, we monitor developments, democratic developments in other countries, and we daily monitor democratic developments in Nigeria. And the Nigerians in diaspora will constitute a form of peer pressure. You know, media and otherwise. You remember what happened with the Bring Back Our Girls, you know? One of the successes of one of the reasons why the Bring Back Our Girls campaign succeeded as it did was the involvement of the critical mass of Nigerians in diaspora. So I think that it is germane, it's an idea whose time has come, and if there are laws to be amended, if there are creative decisions to be taken, you know, the time to do that is yesterday, not even today.
Okay, let's get to Jacob Johnson now in Dublin. Jacob, we know how things were when they talked about the issue of PVCs, Nigerians getting themselves registered, getting themselves captured, and getting their PVCs. If we have to do that for Nigerians abroad, how cumbersome do you think that will be?
It's not cumbersome at all. I mean, we go to Nigeria, when you are applying for passport, if you look at it, all your demographic details would have been collected. You tell them your state of origin, your local government area, your date of birth, your parents' name. The information is there in the database. And if we can do it for the banks, in order to collect the biometric identity, there is no problem at all. I mean, there are various ways of doing the doing the voting these days. You can go by electronic, you can go by proxy, or by phone. By postal election. The information is there. The embassies or the immigration department actually have all our details, except those who don't register with the embassy. People like us, we are always patriotic. We want to be in touch.
All right.
We don't want to be ostracized. So the information is there. All we need is issue ID card, or in fact, base it on the passport and let people vote in the embassy.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Jacob.
We'll
come back to you. Let's read out more information. At the 2014 National Conference, the delegates recommended that the Electoral Act and the Constitution be amended to provide for diaspora voting rights so that Nigerians living abroad who are at least 18 years old can vote during elections.
Now, in August 2015, President Buhari assured Nigerians that efforts were being made to accommodate those living abroad in voting exercises during general elections. Now, he, however, said that implementing the idea now was not feasible due to many factors militating against it, such as legislation, huge finance, and confidence in the electoral system.
Confidence in the electoral system. So, but also recently, the Nigerian Senate made a pronouncement on its determination to amend the Electoral Act, and the chairman, Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Senator Musurat Sumonu, says giving franchise to Nigerians abroad will give them a sense of belonging, and the Senate is seriously pushing for their inclusion in 2019.
Now, let's go further. Let's go further in the information. The earliest known use of external voting took place in 1862, when Wisconsin became the first of a number of U.S. states which enacted provisions to allow absentee voting by soldiers fighting in the Union Army during the Civil War.
The overseas postal vote was gradually extended to cover non-military personnel serving abroad. That happened in 1955, and all U.S. citizens abroad in 1968, and the registration provision became mandatory for states in 1975.
Now, New Zealand introduced absentee voting for seafarers in 1890, and Australia adopted it in 1902, but found it impossible to practice due to stiff operating arrangements. But absentee voting was introduced in the United Kingdom in 1918 for military personnel, and then in 1980 it was extended to all UK citizens living in other countries.
France introduced external voting in 1924 and Spain did same in 1978. A 2006 study that was updated in 2013 and countries that allow their immigrants to vote included 21 African nations. Right now it's 28, quite a lot of other countries have joined, 15 North and South American countries, 15 African countries, and 16 Pacific countries, and 37 European countries.
Now, 15 Asian countries, actually. Yep. Now, 65 of these countries allow for external voting for everyone, while about 25 place restrictions on it based on such factors as to whether they intend to return permanently or how long they have been away. Now, citizens in the U.S. can vote no matter how long they stay away, while citizens of Britain are disqualified after 15 years away from the country.
All right, let's bring Uche in here on the issue of electoral system, the efficiency of the electoral system. Do you trust that if this proposal becomes a reality, that the electoral system is strong enough to handle it?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think that the electoral system is strong. I also don't think that it has to be perfect before this begins to happen. The cleaning up of electoral system should not be restricted to diaspora voting alone. The Nigerian electoral system needs complete overhaul, but we must not wait until our perfect becomes the enemy of our good. Like I argued strongly, the diaspora voting goes beyond political issues. It is an economic issue. And I think that the Nigerian Senate appears to be willing to go in that direction. And the issue of constitutional amendment, is a cumbersome issue, but I can tell you that for something like diaspora voting, there's not going to be a lot of resistance. If the Senate is willing and they pass the required amendments, concurrence from the state House of Assemblies will be very easy, especially if we can put out the clear argument that is a part of economic rescue. If we are lucky to inject $50 billion external funds into the Nigerian economy by making the Nigerians in diaspora have a sense of belonging in the right direction. So it depends on how the government begins to articulate the strong funds for diaspora voting and begin to look beyond 2019, for instance, for tomorrow, for 2017, and the instant issues of recession. So it depends on the way we structure it. My argument is that though our electoral system has got its own deficiencies, but we must not wait before for it to become perfect before we can go into diaspora voting. Okay,
Jacob, let me come to you on this.
Yeah.
Now there are the possibility we're listening to, although during the days we're listening to the Senate committee chairman on diaspora when she was trying to put this forth to her colleagues in the Senate, and she was looking at the possibility of having diasporans vote in 2019 election. Now, if we look at INEC, that is supposed to coordinate all of this in relation to the embassies, do you think INEC has the capacity to withstand the logistics and what it takes for Nigerians in the diaspora to vote in 2019?
I don't think there should be any problem. Like Mr. Igwe said there, I mean, we don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. The database is there. They know every Nigerians that are registered with the embassies abroad. They can easily get their information. I would actually go as far as saying that is more clearer than those who are registering in Nigeria. Because here, you can't register twice. Your fingerprints are there now. All your database is there. You can't change your passport nilly-willy. So I think 2019, we are actually ready if we have the will to actually move things forward. I couldn't see any hindrances stopping Nigerians from abroad from voting, because all we have to do is go to the nearest embassy. There are places where we don't have embassy. That will be a problem. So it could be probably by proxy, because if I think about my families or colleagues in Germany, people have to go from Bonn to Berlin. It's a stretch to ask them to go that far. Even here in Ireland, people who are living in Cork, if they need to do things in the embassy, they have to leave the previous night in order to get there on time. So based on that, there could be a little bit of problem. But like the way the US does it, everybody don't have to go there at once. We can do it electronically. We can do it maybe a week or 2 weeks or even a month before the actual election. And if we are waiting for everything to be perfect before we do that, it will never start.
Okay.
So we have the opportunity now, and we should actually use it. It will encourage even our children. They are always claiming even though they are Irish citizens, they are not carrying Nigerian passport at the moment, but they will be happy if they to know that they can actually participate in the democratic process of Nigeria.
Okay.
And you never know where talent will come.
All right, Jacob Johnson, thank you very much for joining us from Dublin. And Uche Igwe, thank you very much for joining us from the UK. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, one thing they said that resonates is we don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. Let's start it somehow, and then we get there and fine-tune things.
Yeah, it would be a good idea. We didn't have time to really touch on the undocumented Nigerians who are out there. What happens? They also have rights, really.
Yeah, but the point there is, if you have to vote, then you have to be documented. You have to make yourself available. All right, this is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program, and certainly this week's edition as well. Thank you for spending your morning and your week with us. We'll be back again on Monday with other topics, and have a great weekend, I must say. I am Mike Okwacha.
And I am Busola Mitunwashe. Bye for now.